Hello and welcome to Rise of Humanity. I am your host, Chris Karamaya, and today I'm joined by my guest, Tanya Page. Tanya is a spiritual intuitive coach who works to empower her clients using her gifts so that they can live lives of passion, find happiness, improve their health, and much, much more. Tanya is also a certified Reiki practitioner and provides a powerful blend of intuition and energy healing in working with her clients. So Tanya, it's great to be able to connect with you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So just to begin, I've no doubt that you work incredibly hard coaching your clients, but also looking at your Instagram page, it looks as though you also know how to kick back and have a relaxing Sunday off as well. And how important is it to maintain that presence of a relaxation time?
It's an ongoing battle of balance, that's definitely for sure. I know, and especially anyone who has their own business knows, it's always in the back of your mind of that you should be working more and all that, good stuff and hustling. But at the end of the day, for me to truly do the work that I do, I need days off for like my brain to just shut down. And if I don't get those days, I just get overworked and then nothing happens, or nothing good happens anyway. So I usually book Sunday completely off. No one's allowed to schedule anything with me. And I just do absolutely nothing. Or if I do something, it is very, very lazy. So yes, it's very important to have those rest days, especially when you're doing any kind of work with coaching other people, or working with other people so much that you always are in contact with other people, and you just need some alone time, I think, right?
Yeah, I can imagine it's intense work, and you're absorbing, I suppose, a lot of energy as well from other people.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I can completely relate to what you're saying. I mean, I've not got to the coaching point yet, but I'm doing this podcasting and all this kind of new journey for me full time, and I've been like attempting to work 7 days a week. I just didn't even think about having a day off. Suddenly it'd get to like Friday, I'd be like, why do I feel so awful today? And they'd be like, oh yeah, because I haven't had a day off in like 10 days. So yeah, it's definitely an important thing to remember, and I'm kind of working on the scheduling that. It's just, you always feel like you need to be doing something, like you said, and I think it's
exactly
difficult to kind of let go of that, because you think, oh, so much is going to go by that needs to be done, and I'm not going to be doing it. I'm sure you can relate to that though.
Yes, I definitely can, but I think the more that you work at your own stuff too, the longer that you do it, is you see that long-term view, right? So in the long term, taking a day off once a week is way more beneficial than burning yourself out like every 20 days when you just have that like little mental breakdown, or just like, I can't do this, I just need a break, blah, blah, blah. It's much more beneficial for you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and all that good stuff to really take breaks for yourself. And your work is way better. I find like Monday morning, I come into my office, I'm like pumped, I'm like, I have things to say, like I have all this stuff in my brain that I just want to write out, and I wouldn't have that if I was just overworked, because I wouldn't be able to, think that creatively.
Yeah, I might look into scheduling some days off and doing that. That's a good idea. Yeah. So, I mean, you came to doing what you are today from initially a background in health and fitness. Is that right? What were you doing before?
I've been, or had been, like a personal trainer and a nutritionist for about 11 years before that. And I moved my business online. So I was doing health and fitness coaching online, and I had a coach, and I still have that same coach, she did energy healing with me. And so, because I found it very beneficial, I used to have a ton of anxiety. I've been diagnosed with anxiety disorder and severe depression in the past. And so I was working with her to, work through that anxiety and stuff like that. And so we started working together, and it was very apparent from the beginning that I was very, very sensitive to energy and, you know, all of the kind of stuff that comes with healing. And she's like, have you thought about, you know, maybe doing it for yourself, like taking that on, getting certified for yourself and bringing that into your business? Because it goes very well with health and nutrition and everything. And I was like, yeah, why not? Like on a whim, I was like, yeah, why not? And signed up for the course. And when I did that, it was, I started doing all like the lectures and the reading and whatever. And like something like literally inside me changed from the very first lecture that I read. And I was like, this just makes complete sense. I started getting like, I've always been intuitive. I guess I just never realized it before. And I've always felt energies and all that stuff, but I never realized it before. And so when I was started to do this certification process, I was like, holy crap, this is really, really profound. And for me, I was just like, as I was going through the certification process, I wasn't even a Reiki master yet. I was like, well, I'm scrapping health and fitness because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing at all. I mean, it's good and I love health and fitness. It will always be my passion. But I'm like, doing this kind of spiritual work with people is definitely 100% what I'm meant to be doing. And so I said, nope, I'm scrapping my 11-year career. I'm doing this now. I'm going to start coaching people and offering energy healing with that and seeing where that goes. And so far, like I have never been this confident in a position before in my life. It's like, I feel like this is completely meant for me. And to know when you are in like that kind of role and know how much you bring to the table for other people so that you can change their lives, it is the most incredible feeling. Like I feel like a rock star every day. And all of my clients are, you know, always so like thanking me and for helping them and all this stuff. I'm like, you are the people that are changing your lives. I'm just here talking to you about it and really doing some energy healing. And so to be able to do that for other people is like the most amazing thing that I could ever ask for in a gift.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of like the journey that I've been on since I started doing my certification in the spring. And so I've only been certified as an energy healer since July. And now we're in October. So it hasn't been that long. And my entire trajectory of life has, you know, changed.
Yeah, so it's amazing transition. And you recognize the power. And I think, I mean, what you're doing, it really goes to the core and applies to everything. So, I mean, if someone wanted to be get into health and fitness, or you could help them do that, but from the core, rather than being a health and fitness coach, you can kind of clear their energy that's preventing them from being healthy and being fit.
That's definitely true. And what I also do with my clients, and I almost think of like the energy healing part as like the really great frosting on the cake, is that when I talk to clients and I know I can tell intuitively what is going on with their lives and what problems they're having and how that's all interconnected and where they're really like not showing up for themselves, where they're giving away their power to either, you know, past situations or trauma or other people, and how they're not putting up boundaries in their life that's creating all of this, creating all these problems with their energy. So I go right to it, clear their energy, and then we also talk about, okay, what changes do we also need to make so that this stuff doesn't come back, and so that you're moving on and fixing all of these things kind of like spontaneously and ASAP, right? And so when you do that, every aspect of your life kind of changes. And so the clients that I've had so far, I mean, in weeks are completely changing their lives. And so that is like, you know, they're learning. I had a client, what's today? For the last 9 weeks we've been working together. She didn't know what she wanted to do. She didn't want to go back to her job. She was supposed to go back in October 1st after her maternity leave was over. And we started working together, but she had no idea what she wanted to do. In 9 weeks, she started a business. She quit her job that she was supposed to go back to. it was a very, very well-paying job too. She gets to stay home with her 2 kids now, and she's like signing her first 2 clients this week in 9 weeks. And I'm like, do you understand, like, for, you know, when you're going through that process, right? It's very, you're thinking it's not a big deal. But when other people look at that process, they're like, that is huge. You've changed your entire life in 2 months, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
just
so,
just to
yeah.
jump in there for a second, because I've made such huge progress in my life. Like in the last literally 3 months, my life's completely transformed. And the other day, was it? I think it was a Sunday actually. I woke up and I was like, what do I need to do today? And I didn't feel like I needed to do anything. So I was literally like consciously trying to find things to do. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. And then I stepped back and I kind of went into a meditative state and asked the universe, what am I supposed to be doing today? And then literally 5 minutes later, I was on Facebook and I watched a video of someone saying you need to celebrate how far you've come. I was like, oh, that's what, and it completely transformed my day. And I was like, didn't feel like that much to me because I always had my head down. But when I looked up and I realized, wow, I've made such huge progress in the last few months. I suppose that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and to realize, and it's really important that you mentioned the idea of celebration, because we, like, everyone that's going through some sort of like spiritual journey, or, you know, starting their own business or any kind of process like that is very transformative, they don't recognize the little things that they need to just like step back and say, like, I did this. And that is really freaking awesome. Like, you know, we don't, when we think about it with ourselves, we're like, like that's just another item on the checklist. Like, we did that. Like, let's go on to the next one. And I'm guilty of this myself, like 100%. But it is super important to say, like, I literally did this. I started this. I'm here now. Like, and to look back, even if you look back the past couple of years, right? How much you've changed in the last 3 years and where you are, even like mentally and emotionally, how you react or don't react to certain situations anymore. That kind of stuff is really, really important, because the way that you change as a person and acknowledge that you have made those changes, you can see the pattern and the progression of that, right? So you really need to acknowledge that you are not the same person that you were 3 months ago at all.
Yeah. It's amazing how you can miss that though, isn't it?
I think we're too close to ourselves most of the time too, and we're too critical and hard on ourselves to say, like, you know, I actually really deserve this, and I worked really, really hard. It's okay to say I worked really, really hard, and, you know, heck yes, I deserve this, and heck yes, I deserve to sit on the couch all of Sunday and not do anything.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, I love it. You posted on your Instagram, I think it was today, how quickly things are moving forward for you, and how, like, in a matter of days, your life can change. And I think that's it's awesome. It's definitely something I've noticed, that when you align with your purpose and your path on a soul level, things, momentum begins to build up so quickly, and the universe really does support you in such a powerful way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time we look at what's happening around us and outside of us to as like a reflection of our progress, right? And I mentioned, I did that post this morning about being, it's like shifting paradigms almost. And I had this like huge epiphany yesterday, and I was just thinking about, because I do a lot of, I'm into like the crystal healing and or I have been in guided meditation and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, at the end of the day, do we really need these things? Do we really need these extra messages from like spirit guides and all this other stuff to tell us that we're on the right path? Or should we just know that we're on the right path? Mm-hmm. And if you're so in tune to your own intuition, you should immediately know what to do next. And so my huge epiphany was like, and that's why I say it's kind of like really great. It's a really great frosting on the cake of having, working and playing around with crystals and doing guided meditations and getting, little messages from spirit, or seeing change and like getting change, and all those little angel messages that are, we read about, right? And how they connect with us. But if we know that we're on the right path, we don't need those things. Mm. And I was like, game changer. I was like, seriously, game changer, because when you realize you are, your intuition is just as good, if not like better, than having to rely on, you should not have to rely on other things to give you messages about what you're supposed to do next. You will know, you just don't want to do them half the time. I find anyway. It's always like the really scary things that you're like, are you like, I don't like, I want to do it, but at the same time it's going to cause a whole lot of change. And that's kind of the whole idea, right? And so having this epiphany, and I was like, yeah, this changes everything. And the way that I coach and the way that I talk about coaching, I am and my clients will attest to this, I'm very blunt. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, we do the work, we do the work that we say that we're going to do. I'm not a fluffy kind of person. I will tell you like it is. And when I see things that need to change, or we're talking about things and things are coming up, say for example, the language that you use is very, it's not supporting your self-worth or your self-respect. And like, I notice that. Yeah. And so I'll comment on it and say like, hey, like this needs to change, and this is, you're feeling this, and this is why, and that's probably related to this thing in your past. And if we clear all of this up and we become aware and conscious of that, all of that stuff changes, right? And the next time that happens, you catch yourself. Yeah. So, I don't know where I was going with this now, but these changes that I was saying, like every 3 days, mm-hmm. I'm like a super organized planner, and I plan my month in advance, and I have all my appointments done and whatever. And like every 3 days, my life literally changes. Something dramatically or new happens, and I'm like, great, now I have to, now everything is kind of, turned upside down. And I've been finding this for the last year, that the more work that I'm doing on myself this way, the more everything changes and the faster it changes. So you're completely like right that your life changes so quickly when you're doing this kind of work that you can't even describe it. And the people that are doing this kind of work know what I'm talking about. That you can't even describe it. You're like, yeah, that thinking that I had like 3 days ago, no, I'm way past that. I'm like at the upper, next paradigm already. And so when you can bring other people along with you into that ride or on that ride, and help them shift paradigms faster and see themselves, that's how they change as well, right? So it's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I think it's kind of like a 7-day cycle. Maybe I have a kind of this new epiphany, and then in the middle of the week, quite often I'll kind of drop down and feel worse, and I'll be like, oh, I thought I was getting so far, and now it feels worse. And then I'm starting to realize that that's just kind of the clearing of the energy and the learning. And then when I get to the end of the week, a Monday, it kind of all clicks into place. I'm like, oh, I've got it now. But it's like practicing acceptance and not being too hard on yourself, I suppose.
That's true. And I used to have and I still do sometimes have that. It's like you feel really awesome for 4 days, and then that 5th day you're like, where did all the confidence and energy go? Yeah. And then that lasts for like 2 or 3 days, and then you're back to like old self. And I found that those days you're just really tired. That's it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah,
if you slept, I can guarantee that you would feel way better more often.
Yeah, that's one of the things I need to work on.
Try it.
Yeah, my sleep's not that great at the moment, so I'm sure it's going to be back a little bit, but yeah, trying to work through it. So I mean, with obviously this unveiling almost of these new like intuitive gifts. I mean, and this kind of awakening. Has it been like a smooth process for you? Has it been kind of a bumpy ride?
I wouldn't say smooth.
No.
I don't think any kind of transition or progression in life is smooth.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely like periods or weeks where I'll feel like things are all in a row and I'm like, this is, everything's going really, really well. And then I get, I would say experience or like tests from the universe being like, do you really want this? Are you sure about this? We're just going to like test you out. Like bad things are going to happen for a little bit and see how you react to them.
Yeah.
And I've been dealing with a little bit of that in my life right now. My dog has been a little bit sick and we don't know why. We've been doing tons and tons of tests and nothing is coming up. So I'm just like, I'm dealing with, that's a stress in my life. But at the same time, I think that's always kind of underlying with whatever anyone's going through. There's always going to be like actual life things that you're dealing with on top of if you're on like such a profound spiritual journey, right? You don't get to pick and choose, and so I would say not smooth, but not terribly bumpy. And I think that the way things change for me, especially so drastically and dramatically and so often, that I'm constantly up-leveling my own knowledge and where I am. And so that definitely helps when you feel super like on point and aligned and so confident with what you're doing that the other things, and I say this, I describe this as like living from your heart instead of from your brain. Mm-hmm. Because when you live from your brain, it's kind of ego-based. And so there's all the doubts and the fears and the worries there, and there always will be. Your brain will always tell you all the bad things that are going to happen. But when you are so in alignment with yourself and who you're being, you live from that place in your heart. And from the place in your heart, there is no doubt, there's no worry, there's no fear. It's just like, things are what they are. You still have to do, regular life stuff. Like I posted today on Facebook, I'm like, ooh, glamorous day working from home. I'm like 11 a.m. I got podcast interviews, and then like 1 p.m. I got laundry. So it's like people have this misconception that like, when you're on a spiritual journey, it's so like glamorous and blah. I'm like, no, I still have to do laundry and I still have to make lunch and take the dog for the walk in the afternoon and all these things. And so, right? Like you still have to deal with life things. But when you live from that place in your heart and you like are 100% confident in that, the other things, the things that should be bumpy in your life, get smoother. And they don't distract you, and it's like 1,000 things can be happening around you, but you are centered. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very powerful.
Thank you.
So, with regards to your coaching business, and are you taking it steady at the moment, or have you got a big plan for the future? Are you limiting kind of the amount of clients you're working with at the moment? What does that look like?
Well, right now I do coaching, like ongoing coaching for like a 3-month package, for clients who are really interested in doing this kind of work ongoing, that want the healing, that want the guidance, that want the mentorship in that way. But I've also noticed that there's a lot of people, and I say like regular people, AKA people that maybe are not entrepreneurs or not in a role that they want to develop themselves so spiritually, or deepen their spirituality. Just people that want a little bit of guidance. So I do offer like one-time intensive sessions. So it's like 2 or 3 hours, and I do a healing for them, and then we discuss other things that are coming up in their life, and how we can go about managing that and helping them with that. And so I think that by offering both, it gives people more of a wider range of options, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs like ongoing coaching, right? Because we like to up-level ourselves continuously, and we usually like ongoing support in that way. But for someone that is just maybe going through a rough period, or had maybe a loved one that has passed on, that they kind of just need a little bit of help going through the grieving process. They want a healing on that, and to talk about, getting closure with that. I think a smaller intensive session is like much more appropriate for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. So
that's how it is right now. I have no idea how it's going to evolve at all, and I don't see myself like doing group programs or anything like that. Like, I've talked about it with some people, but I'm not a group program type of girl. It's not my game. I thrive on working one-on-one with people, and I know that I am very, very powerful in that coaching relationship with those people. So that is that's my strength, that's my genius. And so I'm going to go with that. There are tons of other people that run group programs and masterminds and all that kind of stuff that are really, really much better than I am at that. And so, I just work one-on-one with people, especially since we're so individual on our own spiritual journey that it's sometimes hard to do a group program or something like that can pinpoint like a group consciousness. That's not the right word, but like to make it a group program and to touch on things that are coming up with everyone. I like to go much deeper with my one-on-one clients, and so we can really get at the root of things and help them change faster and deeper.
Yeah, completely understand that. And I imagine as well, by working one-on-one with people and in that kind of way, it's helping you as well develop yourself, rather than if you were like your intuition and stuff, rather than if you were kind of distance with people doing it not so close in a group coaching program.
Yeah, that's true too. When and I, to be honest, when I'm coaching, I don't know where this, like, my words come from. It's almost like, and when I do healings because I do distance healings for people, and sometimes I will see a lot of images or get a lot of messages, and so if I don't write notes like right after I do that healing, I forget. It's like my brain or my mind is not the thing thinking it. It's something outside of myself or whatever. So I don't retain any of that knowledge. It's almost channeling that knowledge. And so when I do coaching, or when I'm coaching, and I'm like, where do I come up with it? Like, that's really good, but I'm like, that doesn't, I don't know where I come up with half the stuff. It's kind of whatever I'm, like, intuitively, whatever I'm thinking, I say. I don't filter myself. I always say whatever that needs to be said. So yes, it helps me a lot, because it helps me to learn how to build stronger relationships with my clients, and really, really understand at the root of what's going on with people's energy, with people's like spirits, and how they specifically are transforming through their journey, or this, like, for whatever reason, why they're on the earth at this time, and going through the things that they're going through, right? We're always experiencing the things we're experiencing because there's a reason and a lesson behind it.
Yeah.
And so to take a look at that, that's just awesome for me, because it helps me learn and grow, like you said.
Yeah, wouldn't want to miss out on that. So the energy healing that you do, it's Reiki. I mean, how could you just talk about how that works and what you can do with it?
How it works. And so if people aren't familiar with Reiki, Reiki is just a form of energy healing. And so you have to, when you get certified, you get attuned to the power of the Reiki healing energy. And so there's a few symbols that you get attuned to that allow for you to do distance healing, so that the healing actually can transcend time and space. And if you've done any kind of quantum physics work, I did a little bit just to kind of get a handle on how healing can transcend time and space. But I can set an intention, or rather I set an intention at the beginning of the healing for who it is, and I can make it available to them for a specific day or time or a period of time. So for my clients that I work with one-on-one weekly, I set the intention for their session, their healing session, to be available for them for the entire week. So whenever they do the meditation for their session, their body will automatically receive that healing. And then on my end, I do like a regular Reiki healing session like you would if you went to someone in person to get it done. I do all the hand positions, and I clear their energy and stuff like that. And then I take notes. When I do it, and I don't know how intuitive other people are, or what they see, or what they get, or what they feel, depending on the client. I will see, feel, know, or hear messages usually. And I didn't really understand why I was getting like all four, because I always thought that I was just able to feel energy. And that's how I worked. Like I was able to pick up other people's energy, feel it, feel other people's emotions, and stuff like that. And so when I started doing these healings for people, I started to get really, really vivid visions of things, of times, of situations in their life, of people that have passed over. And so I was really confused at first. I'm like, why is this happening? This has never happened before. And I realized, since I've been working with so many clients now, I've realized that when I do a healing session for a client, I actually take on whatever their dominant clair is. So if they feel energy, I will feel energy. If they're clairvoyant, I will see more images. If they are claircognizant, so if they just intuitively know things, then I will just know things. And so I kind of put these two and two together after doing so many sessions. I was like, so this how this works. And my energy healer she feels energy. So when she does my energy healing, I feel the energy. I just take on whatever she had, like how she feels. And so that was really like kind of eye-opening for me. I've done some research and I haven't found out what that actually is, to be able to have all of your clairs, or all the dominant ones, like all of them dominant, none of them more so than the other. Because usually when a person is very intuitive, they will have a certain way of how they receive messages or how that comes up for them, right? But I get all of them. So I don't know what that's called. I don't know what that's called, but that's how that works for me. And yeah, so then after the healing session, I usually take some notes. And then when I get on the call with people, we'll talk about specific things that come up, that came up for them, what they need to work on, what I saw for them. But it was really, really weird when I first started doing energy healing or doing the certification, because I would do a meditation in the morning, like I always had, and all of a sudden I would see images of people that I know or that are close to in my life, and I would see certain things about them. Like I would see my friend, and I would see like her, and it would show up with like the word on it, and it would be like, it said like colon, and I'm like, why do I see this, and what's going on? And so I sent her an email and said like, you're coming up in my meditation. If you want to know what I'm seeing for you, because she's also very spiritual, I'm like, I'm happy to share that, but I am very cautious of sharing with people that don't ask immediately for that information. And so she's like, yeah, sure, tell me. And so I told her what I saw, and she's like, yeah, about right. She's like, I have IBS, and I didn't know, and she was having some stomach issues that week and stuff like that. So it was really, really weird because that's never happened to me before. And then how this progressed, it was very sudden, very dramatic, to the point like I would, meet someone and I was like, oh, you have like a pain in your shoulder on the right and it's caused by this, and I don't know where this is coming from, and I've never right, and it's like this like really cool, it's like this really cool party gift or party trick that I can do, and I was just like, I don't know if this is right or wrong because I've never experienced this before, so I'm not going to say that it's right or wrong. This is just like what I see or hear or feel, so I just and it was like the weirdest thing. And so I've kind of just been like going with it. And that's how it started, really, is I've just been kind of going with it and really, still doing all of the inner work that I've always been doing. But it's just escalated like I could never, ever imagine this to be even a few months ago. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was just about to ask you, do you do energy healing on yourself? I mean, do you manage to kind of find time to do that?
Actually, yesterday was the first self-treatment I've ever done. Okay. Funny enough, I have done healings for myself in the past, but so when I do a distance healing session, I use like a surrogate body or like the outline of the outline of the body, so I know that where to put the hands and whatever. So it's when I make the intention that it's easier for me. And I've done that before. Like I've done a healing session on the surrogate for myself, but I've never actually done like a hands-on healing for myself. It's just because I do so many healings per week and I have my own energy healer that I work with weekly. Okay. I was just doing so many healings. I'm like, I don't really need to do a self-treatment. It's just kind of extra time, really, if I'm doing all these treatments. And so, I haven't really before. And I want to say it's like when you're, like any kind of profession where you really should do it because you're doing it for other people, but you don't take the time to do it yourself. That's what that is. And I'm constantly clearing my energy. I'm constantly doing I don't know if excuse me, if you or other people are aware, when you give a Reiki healing session, you are actually also receiving the benefits of that. So, so it's like every time I give a session, I'm also receiving healing when I do it. Because when you do a Reiki healing session, it's not the healer that is using their own energy to heal. You're using universal energy, and you're just kind of being a vessel you're just being a vessel for that energy, to use through your hands. So I very much benefit from all of the healings that I give other people. And so it's almost like, overkill if I'm doing self-treatments, right? Unless it's like for whatever reason I have a slow week, or maybe I don't, I haven't done some healings. Then I would do them. And I also do them on my dog quite often, because she's been ill, so she doesn't like them. But I was doing them like every other day, and I've dropped down to about like once a week now. We do 10 minutes here and there whenever we can find the time. So it's like I'm constantly energy healing.
And I imagine you meditate, and obviously you keep fit and stuff like that, which all helps to raise your vibration.
Meditation, I find, is also really powerful in the way that when I do a meditation, I can feel the energy moving around, and it's almost like especially if you do like guided meditation or something very, very like deep, when you're deeply able to relax, you're healing yourself at that point, right? And you can, if you're sensitive to energies, and other people will know this, that you'll feel that healing within your body while you're doing a meditation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's a couple of questions that I like to ask people in the interviews. The first one is, what would be your best tip for people looking to lift their level of consciousness today?
The best tip. Two things. One is always keep learning, because with learning, I mean, you're always you're increasing your knowledge, for one, but two, you will get those epiphany moments where everything kind of just clicks. You're like, this makes so much sense. Like, so much sense. Two is get a mentor. And I don't say that just because I am a mentor, but I've worked with this coach that I'm with now. I've been with for over 6 months. And I've worked with business coaches for this last year because I knew that I've known for the last 5 years that I wanted to have an online business, and I had no idea how to start one. And so I did a course in the summer of 2016 of how to start an online business. And I worked with 2 business coaches. And I will say that working with people, obviously it's a huge investment. The work that I've done with people in the last year alone has taken 10 years off of my learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, no joke. And so you see a ton of other people saying, invest in yourself, get a mentor, do all this stuff. And it's almost like a catch-22, because when you need to invest in a mentor, you don't have the money ever, right? And my advice for that would be find it. If you really want to do the work and really move forward with things, find the money, ask for the money, get a loan, do it. Because what would you rather do? Take a couple of months or take the year to pay off a $5,000 loan and be ahead 10 years, or spend the next 10 years trying to figure it out yourself?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
that is huge. Huge. Yeah. So that's my number one tip. And always keep reading, always keep doing work that you're interested in. It's hugely beneficial.
Yeah, I love that advice. And it seems like the time when it's most difficult to invest in yourself is the best time. And when you just take that leap, the
you're
results
scared.
are massive.
You're very, very scared. There's no, it's not easy. It's not difficult to start your own business or move and transform the way you want to transform your life. It's not difficult. It is just really, really scary. And especially when you can't see the outcome yet, you can only see the first 5 feet in front of you.
Yeah. Awesome. And the second question is, what would be your best advice on how people can contribute to the rise of humanity?
How people can contribute. And there's a lot of ways. Right? I think that, with all of this stuff that's happening in the world right now, and I have a hard time staying on top of news myself, because when I see news that is upsetting, it makes me profoundly sad. And so it's like I take on all of the emotion that is involved in that situation or event. And so I strongly believe, the rise in humanity, the more that we work on our own consciousness, the more we realize that we're all equal, and there is no reason for all the stuff that's happening to be happening. And sometimes I know it is very hard to not react to things that are happening, or it creates a lot of activism in people that are acting out. And I don't want to make the wrong impression and say that acting out or reacting is the wrong thing to do. But when you take away people's reasons to push in the first place and they have nothing to push against, then if you come at them with only love, it changes the game, right? And I think that the more people do work on their consciousness, and I'm talking like not just reading, motivational quotes and stuff like that, although they're very nice and they do work when you're kind of in a, not a great mood sometimes and you see that one quote. But I mean, the really, really profound work that really makes you realize why we're here and what we're doing and what's going on, that the more we can bring love to the table and release all of the other horrible stuff that is going on in the world. And the more people that are thinking like this, right, the more energy that they're able to give to the world. So when you raise your and people sometimes don't know this, when you raise your vibration, when you raise your consciousness, it does not only affect you, it affects millions of people in the world. And so the more people that are raising their consciousness or raising their vibration, the more that love spreads. And they've done studies, I'm not 100% sure on where you can find these studies. They've done meditation studies that people in meditation groups, the effect of a meditation group on that city or on that country is like absolutely huge. If you Google this kind of stuff, you can find it easily. Because they are consciously raising the vibration of that entire area. And I think that this is going to be a really huge aspect into how we're moving through this next period of life in this world, because there is right now a huge dissonance between people who are conscious, who are love, who are living that, and people that are causing, terror and war and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't want to say it's us versus them, because it's not. We're all in this together, right? But the more that we can love, and that's very hard to do, the more that we can bring love to the table and make that as a humanitarian goal, the more that our whole world we'll see our whole world change before our eyes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that advice, because that's I couldn't agree more, and that's pretty much what Rise of Humanity is about. You just kind of summed it up there. So
awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Wonderful. So where can the listeners find out more about you?
So my website is kind of it's there, but I only really use my website for people who are looking to book coaching with me. So that's tanyapage.com, TANYAPAGE.com. Otherwise, you can find me on Facebook. Just search same name, or on Instagram, same name, and I'm there. I post mostly on Instagram and Facebook though. But again, if people are interested in the coaching, well, it's just my consultation questionnaire, and that's about it. I really don't do a whole lot with my website, because I find you don't really need it when people know what you're about, right? Mm-hmm. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Just thank you so much for coming on, sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with the listeners, and I wish you the best going forward with your journey.
Thank you so much for today.
Not a problem. Thank you. So that is all for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and check out Tanya on the web. So I'll catch you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.